You ever drive by something every day for years, not even recognize it? That's what happened to me with Haunted Lane. I'd heard kids whisper about a haunted lane before, late night nonsense mostly. Someone swore they saw lights out there, someone else said a car broke down and never started again. Stuff you only half listen to when you're bored at a party. I call myself a ghost hunter sometimes, but that usually just means scrolling through paranormal forums at 2 a.m. or waving around a thrift store EMF reader that picks up more microwaves and spirits. Still, I like to think I'm on the lookout. When I finally saw the sign, Haunted Lane, I felt like fate had just slapped me in the face. I've lived in Fallbrook pretty much my whole life. I've driven down Main Street hundreds of times, probably thousands, but somehow I never noticed the road just before the bridge over the creek. Haunted Lane runs alongside that same creek, hidden behind trees like it's been keeping pace with the rest of the town in secret. I was sitting at the red light one morning, sipping some awful gas station coffee, when my eyes finally caught the sign. At first I thought it had to be a joke, like some kids had climbed up there in the middle of the night and swapped the signs out, but it looked official, green metal, white reflective letters bolted right in, and the road itself just sort of disappears into this overgrown patch of trees. It looks older than everything around it. Like when they were building the suburbs, they tried to pave over everything, but Haunted Lane slipped through the cracks. How the hell didn't I notice it until now? I couldn't stop thinking about it. Even at work, when I was supposed to be answering emails and pretending to care about end-of-quarter numbers, my mind kept drifting back to that sign. Why would anyone name a road that? Who the hell signed off on it? Or was it always called that? When I got home, I figured I'd do a quick search, just toss it into Google, see what popped up. Figured there had to be something, the town's Reddit page, some Wikipedia article, the stupid urban legend website, something. Instead, I got nothing. Directions, sure, a couple of real estate listings, but no story, no explanation. And for a wannabe ghost hunter like me, that was worse than finding a dozen fake ones. So I decided to check out the old historical society the next day. That building always gave me the creeps. It's near the center of town, sure, but tucked back just far enough that it feels forgotten. The trees crowd in too close, branches knuckling against the roof like they're trying to hold it down. The whole place looks like the sort of inn that George Washington might have stayed at. Slate roof, old brick, big heavy windows that don't look like they've been opened in 100 years. I almost turned around. I probably should have, but I didn't. The front door gave a low groan when I pushed it open, and a little brass bell jingled overhead. She was there immediately, an older woman behind the desk, smiling like she'd been expecting me. Something about her reminded me of my grandmother, the same warm presence that made you want to sit and stay a while. "Welcome, dear," she said, her voice lilting and warm. "I'm Margaret." She offered me tea before I even said a word. I said yes, of course, who could say no? For a while, we just talked about weather, local teens, harmless small-town chatter. The kind of conversation makes you forget yourself, like slipping into a quilt. Safe, comfortable, almost enough to make me forget why I was there at all. But eventually I asked, "Do you know anything about Haunted Lane?" And that's when her face changed. Not angry, not scared, just resigned. Like I'd finally spoken aloud about something that she'd been waiting to hear. She set her cup down carefully, both hands on the porcelain, and folded them in her lap. Her gaze slid towards the window, as though she could see something out there that I couldn't. "Fallbrook's always had its stories," she said softly. "But Haunted Lane, that's different. We used to call it the Lady's Path before the name changed. Folks said you could hear a woman crying down by the creek after dark. Some said it was only wind through the trees. Others swore it was something older, something that never left." Her eyes flickered back to mine, sharp for just a second. "They say her name was Eleanor Harrow. She lost her boy in the creek sometime early 1800s, drowned. After that, she walked those banks every night, calling out for him. They say she never stopped, not even when she died." I felt my pulse quicken. My channel had been circling the drain for months, hours of ghost hunts that ended with raccoons or bad wiring. If this was real, I could catch something here. It could change everything, finally prove I wasn't just chasing shadows. Margaret must have seen the look on my face because her smile thinned. "Don't go thinking it's just stories now. There's been trouble on that road. People go missing from time to time, not many, but enough. And when cars do come out, they have long, deep scratches down the sides, too high for a key, too clean for branches, like something marked them. She let the words settle, and her teacup trembling slightly in her hand. She let the words settle, her teacup trembling slightly in her hand. Then she chuckled, as if trying to shake the mood. Of course, not every tale's so grim. During Prohibition, a pack of bachelors used to come up from the city and spend the summers in the estates along the lane. They'd drink, play cards, raise hell, and if nosy locals came sniffing around, they'd rattle chains out the windows, wail like banshees, scare them clean off. Ghost stories make for good guard dogs, I suppose. Her laugh faded quickly in the quiet room. She leaned forward, folding her hands together, her voice lowered. But some stories, they stick around for a reason. So if you do go down there, her eyes locked onto mine, sharp and unblinking. Don't follow the crying. Back at my apartment, I dumped my backpack onto the bed, started packing like I was going somewhere important. EMF reader? Check. Digital recorder? Check. Flashlight with half-dead batteries? Check. I even set up my GoPro knockoff on the dresser, the red light blinking at me like it knew better. Tonight, I said into the lens, we're going to investigate one of the oldest legends in Fallbrook, Haunted Lane. I tried to sound confident, the way real YouTubers do, but my voice cracked on the word haunted. Great start. The truth was, every video I'd made so far had been a bust. My ghost hunts were mostly abandoned barns, mildew basements, and once a laundromat everyone swore was haunted, but turned out to just have bad plumbing. 23 subscribers, most of them bots. The only comments I got were about my shaky camera work and the one time I accidentally recorded my neighbor yelling at her cat. But this felt different. It had to be different. Margaret's warning was still ringing in my ears, scratching on cars, people going missing. That last sharp when she told me not to follow the crying. It made my stomach twist, sure, but it also made this story feel real. And if it was real, I could catch even 1 second of proof, just a clip that wasn't easily explained away. This could be the break I'd been waiting for. I packed an extra flashlight, a fresh notebook, and a protein bar I knew I wouldn't eat. My backpack looked ridiculous, like I was going camping in the middle of town. I zipped it shut and slung it over my shoulder anyway. Haunted Lane, I whispered to myself. Time to see if you're the one. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous walking up the Haunted Lane. Every other place I'd investigated was just a story passed around, the kind of haunted that turned out to be bad wiring or a raccoon in the attic. But this felt heavier. Deeper. I strapped my camera to my chest, more duct tape than actual mount. So it was recording everything from the moment I stepped off the road. The EMF reader dangled from my belt. I'd started to think the damn thing was broken. It had never gone off. No matter how many hours I waved it around in basements and barns, a glorified paperweight. The road ran alongside the creek, black water sliding silently through the trees. I kept trying to find a spot where I could climb down, but the bank was steep and choked with roots. Every opening looked promising until I was right on top of it, and then nothing but mud and brambles. The whole place felt like it didn't want me down there. Finally, I spotted a narrow break in the brush and pushed through, only to be met with a pair of geese exploding out of the reeds. They charged straight at me, hissing like they'd been waiting for fresh meat. Jesus Christ, I yelled, stumbling back. All right, you win. Most haunted thing I've seen all year. It's a couple of geese. As I could hear myself laughing nervously on the playback, the camera jostling as I scrambled up the embankment with geese still honking after me. Not exactly the kind of footage that was going to make me famous, unless people really liked watching me get bullied by waterfowl. By the time I found a slope shallow enough to scramble down without getting attacked, I was sweating through my jacket. The air along the creek felt colder somehow, and that crawling sensation that something was just about to put its hands on the back of my neck wouldn't leave me alone. Every time I spun around, there was nothing, just shadows and the sound of water. I started with the usual routine, recorder in hand. Eleanor, are you here? Can you give me a sign? My own voice echoed back when I played it, nothing else. I kept moving, following the water towards where the old mansion was supposed to be, asking questions, hoping for anything. The silence started to feel insulting, that the lane itself was laughing at me. I was just about ready to pack it in when the EMF reader shrieked the life in my hand. Lights flashing, needles slamming red. For the first time since I bought it, the damn thing actually worked. I I froze when the EMF reader screamed in my hand, the little screen blazing like the 4th of July. For a second I just stared, half convinced it was some kind of fluke, but the longer it stayed lit, the more it sank in. This wasn't broken after all. Something was here. My pulse hammered. I swung my flashlight in every direction, chasing shadows, waiting for something to leap out. Branches, mud, nothing. Until my beam slid across the old mansion. There, in one of the upstairs windows, was a silhouette, perfectly still, perfectly human, watching me. I blinked and it was gone, vanished in an instant, and with it, the EMF reader went dead in my hand. It was surreal. More real than anything I'd ever caught on tape. And I know, I should have left right then, that was proof enough, but my camera was still rolling, and for the first time in my life, I had something. Maybe the start of something bigger. I couldn't just walk away. The wind picked up, cold enough to sting my cheeks, the creek whispering louder beside me. Time dragged, my questions into the recorder went unanswered, the silence pressing in again. Then, faint at first, I heard it. Footsteps. Right behind me. I finally forced myself to break the silence. My voice shook, but I tried to steady it for the recorder. Eleanor, can you give me a sign? I held the recorder out, waiting. The creek gurgled beside me, then suddenly it wasn't a gurgle anymore. It was thrashing, water slapping like someone fighting to keep their head above the surface, each splash sharper, closer. My stomach twisted. I stumbled back a step, flashlight darting over the creek. Nothing. Just black water sliding by, calm as ever. I replayed the recording, half expecting something, half praying for nothing. But all I got was my own voice, hollow and small. No response. I swallowed hard, throat dry, and tried again. Eleanor, where are you? I waited, silent. I waited, the silence stretching thin. My finger hovered over the playback button. I pressed it. My question came clear through, shaky but intact, and then layered right beneath it, a second voice, low, guttural, unmistakably not mine. Behind you. A chill swept over me and I froze. It wasn't just the wind, it felt like a hand brushing against my shoulder, weightless but certain. The air pressed close, the way it does when someone's standing right beside you. Then came the sound, faint, wet breathing, inches from my ear. I spun around, flashlight slashing through the dark. Nothing. Not a twig out of place. That was it. My nerves snapped. I bolted back up the bank, crashing through the branches, lungs burning, the EMF still screaming in my fist. I didn't stop running until I saw the glow of Main Street through the trees. It took me days before I could bring myself to watch the footage. When I finally did, I wished I hadn't. She was there the whole time. On the very first minutes of the tape, she stood at the edge of the forest, pale and still, watching me step onto the lane. Later, in the reeds by the creek, plain as day, half hidden but undeniable. How I missed it in the moment is impossible. And then came the worst part, when the recorder caught that voice behind you. And I whipped around, the camera caught her, clear, reaching. She wore a white dress, torn and dripping with creek water. Her face was smeared mascara or mud like she'd been crying for centuries, and her arms stretched towards me, fingers outstretched, almost brushing my shoulder, closer than I ever wanted her to be. I never went back to Haunted Lane. Hell, I even started taking different routes just to avoid driving past it. And on the rare times I did, I could feel her eyes on me, watching, waiting for me to come back. But I didn't stop ghost hunting. If anything, that video changed everything. Haunted Lane gave me proof and a following. My channel blew up overnight. People wanted more, demanded more. In Fallbrook, this town has no shortage of stories. Every day I learn about another road, another house, another secret people whisper about, but never say too loud. I don't know if I'll ever get to them all, but I'll try. Welcome to Fallbrook.